when an adult uses a child for his or her own sexual gratification. When the offender and the victim are in the same immediate family, the abuse is called incest, a sexual act between two minors where one exerts power over the other is also considered as a sexual abuse. Inappropriate sexual exposure or touch by an adult to a child or an older child to a younger one. Any situation in which someone is forced to participate in unwanted, unsafe, or degrading sexual activity, even when it's with a partner. The person is also having consensual sex is sexual abuse. Dear friends and fellows, you are watching Safety First, and today's HSC tutorials topic is child's sexual abuse. I'm your host, Javed. If you are new on this channel, kindly subscribe the channel. And if you find the video informative, like and share. Let us look what are the different forms and examples of sexual abuse. Rape, post-penetration, sexual assault, vaginal, anal or oral, sexual assault using objects, sex toys, broken glasses, bottles, etc. Forcing sex in ways that hurt or following a physical beating, forcing sex with others, forcing sex in front of others, making her watch or mimic pornography, unwanted fondling, videoing or photographing her doing sexual acts, pinching or biting breasts and buttocks, name calling, frigid, whore, criticizing her sexually, forcing her to strip or forcefully stripping her, sadistic sexual acts, forcing her into prostitution, withholding sex and or affection, making sex conditional on her behavior, minimizing or denying her feelings about sex or sexual preferences, or forcing or coercing her to act out fantasies she is not comfortable with. These are the different forms and examples of sexual abuse. Let us discuss the categories of sexual abuse. Number one, non-touching abuses. Exhibitionism, exposure to pornography, taking photographs of children in a sexualized manner, voyeurism, communicating in a sexual way, such as through telephone or the internet, and letting down the walls of privacy so that the child watches or hears sexual acts. These are the different types, are the examples of non-touching abuses. Number two, touching abuses, kissing, fondling, oral sex, vaginal or anal intercourse, or attempted intercourse. Dear friends and fellows, let us find the reasons of silence among children. Children are physically less powerful than adults. Children are obliged to obey adults. Children are provided limited information on matters regarding sex and sexuality. Children's questions pertaining to sex and sexuality are frowned upon. The importance placed on keeping the family intact or preserving the family reputation, and it keeps children from speaking about the abuse. Do you know who are the abusers? Studies shows that most abusers of child sexual abuse are known to victims. They may be a male relative or an acquaintance. In many cases, it is the father who violates his own child. As per the statistics, 93% of the abusers are from the family, relatives, or friends, and only 7% they are strangers. Let us discuss what is the strategy of abusing. Grooming is a subtle, gradual, and escalating process of building trust with a child. It is deliberate and purposeful. Abusers may groom children from weeks, months, or even years before any sexual abuse actually takes place. It usually begins with behaviors that may not even seem to be inappropriate. Grooming children may include befriending a child and gaining his or her trust, testing a child's boundaries through telling inappropriate jokes, back rubs, tickling, or sexual games, moving from non sexual touching to accidental sexual touching. This typically happens during play, so the child may not even identify it as purposeful, inappropriate touching. It is often done slowly, so the child is gradually desensitized to the touch, manipulating the child to not tell anyone about what is happening. The abuser may use a child's fear, embarrassment, or guilt about what has happened. Sometimes the abuser uses bribery, threats, or coercion, confusing the child into feeling responsible for the abuse. Children may not notice or may become confused as the contact becomes increasingly intimate and sexual. Dear friends and fellows, you are watching Safety First, and today's topic is child's sexual abuse. Let us discuss the physical effects of sexual abuse. Sexually transmitted infection, STI, urinary tract infections, pregnancy at a young age, unusual smells or bleeding, torn, stained or bloody underclothing, pain or itching in the genital areas, difficulty in walking or sitting, bruises or wounds on the genitalia and mouth. Do you know what are the behavioral effects of sexual abuse? Distress of others and themselves, terror and anxiety, shame, guilt, self hatred or self harm, alienation from their bodies, isolation and withdrawal from people and activities, powerlessness, depression, and extreme passivity, anger, obsession with sex or complete aversion to it, questioning their sexuality and gender, drug and alcohol use, abuse and addiction, eating and sleeping disorders, perfectionism and workaholism, mental illness and suicide, sexual offending, sleep disturbances, and drop in school performance. Let us discuss who can be sexually abused. All children are vulnerable to sexual abuse, especially girls. Children are the perfect victims because they are vulnerable, easily persuaded to cooperate, too ashamed to talk about it, and many unsatisfied needs. These are the reasons that's why they are considered the perfect victims for predators. Do you know why the children don't tell adults about the abuse? Children often cannot tell about a touching problem because of the fear of remembering. Children often cope with their abuse by pushing it so far back in their minds that they forget. To remember means to feel hurt again. The second reason is loss of love. Children often worry that their parents or friends will not love them once they know about their abuse. This is often because children will take responsibility for their abuse. Children also often fear separation from their families because of the telling. Number three reason is shame and guilt. Children either know or can sense that their sexual experiences with an adult are wrong. By telling someone and acknowledging that this happened, they tend to fear the shame of the abuse. Older children will experience more sense of guilt than younger children. Number four, blame. Children fear that they will be blamed for the sexual touches, that they somehow wanted it. Adults tend to be believed over children, and offenders often state that the child asked for the sexual touch. Children ask for the affection and attention, which is their right. However, they don't ask for sex, for which they cannot have the appropriate context for consent. And the last reason is harm. Offenders often maintain control over their victims by threatening harm to them or their families if they tell. Children are then burdened with the inappropriate responsibility of keeping their families safe. Dear friends and fellows, these are the happenings. What can be done against? The best way to protect children and youth against sexual abuse is to give them the knowledge and skills necessary for their safety and well-being, and by creating in our families and communities an atmosphere where they feel safe enough to come forward if they are being mistreated or abused. Children who know that they have rights, who are well informed about inappropriate touching, who are taught to trust their feelings about situations and people, and who know where to get help if needed, are less likely to be the victims of any type of assault. You have to start conversation about safety when your kids are young. Teach young children the language they need to talk about their bodies and information about boundaries to help them understand what is allowed and what is inappropriate. These lessons help them know when something is not right and give them the power to speak up. Teach children the names of their body parts. When children have the words to describe their body parts, they may find it easier to ask questions and express concerns about those body parts. Some parts of the body are private. Let children know that the other people shouldn't touch or look at them. If a healthcare professional has to examine these parts of the body, be present. It's okay to say no. It's important to let children know they are allowed to say no to touches that make them uncomfortable. This message is not obvious to children who are often taught to be obedient and follow the rules. Support your child if they say no, even if it puts you in an uncomfortable position. For example, if your child doesn't want to hug someone at a family gathering, respect their decision to say no to this contact. Talk about secrets. Perpetrators will often use secret keeping to manipulate children. Let children know they can always talk to you, especially if they have been told to keep a secret. If they see someone touching another child, they shouldn't keep this secret. Reassure them that they wouldn't get in trouble. Young children often fear getting in trouble or upsetting their parents by asking questions or talking about their experiences. Be a safe place for your child to share information about things that they have questions about that make them uncomfortable. Remind them they wouldn't be punished for sharing this information with you. Show them what it looks like to do the right thing. It could be as simple as helping an elderly person get off a bus or picking up change that someone has dropped onto the ground. When you model helping behavior, it signals to your child that this is a normal and a positive way to behave. When they come to you, make time for them. If your kids come to you with something they feel is important, take the time to listen. Give them your undivided attention and let them know you take their concerns seriously. They may be more likely to come to you in the future if they know their voice will be heard. If I'll speak in a simpler way, I will say, love your children and give them time. Tell them the parts of the body in real sense. Tell them about the good or bad touch. Tell them there is no secret touch. Tell them about their private parts of the body, as you can see in the photograph, chest, bottom, and in between the legs. Tell them they should never allow anyone to take pictures of their private parts. Teach them how to get out of uncomfortable and scary situations. Tell them how to say no when unpleasant situation like touching their private parts arises, even though they are with their adults. Tell them even some secret code words they can message if somewhere they are in unsafe conditions. Tell them these rules are same even for another child, known or an unknown person. Dear friends, bruises heal, but pain last forever. 1 in 4 girls will experience sexual abuse by the time she is 16, and 48% of all rapes involve a young woman under the age of 18. It's not surprising then that in a society where sexual abuse of young women is rampant, many women never share their stories. They remain hidden and invisible. Soul abuse is the destruction of a victim's awareness of the strength within their soul. It stems from the abuser's intention to corrupt another understanding of their own significance. So long as little children are allowed to suffer, there is no true love in this world. There is no peace and there is no harmony as well. Training session is over now. If you have any question, please ask in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Maybe you will agree or not with my discussion and arguments. It's your right to disagree 100%, but my humble request is to protect your children, to care and love your kids. Hope to see you soon with a new HSC tutorial. Till then, take care, good luck, and Allah Hafiz.